So now that we have our header file created, the next thing that we're going to do is go into our implementation file, which is called Mouse.cpp, and we are going to define all of these functions. So it seems like it might be a good idea for me to just come in here, and I'm just going to copy all of these functions, the function definitions, declarations, and I'm going to put them inside of here. So now there's a few things that we're going to need in our implementation file. So we're going to do a pound include IOStream. We are also going to use the pound include string, and then we're going to set precision if we're going to be displaying age and weight. So we'll do the pound include, and that is in IO manipulation. That would be for the fixed and the set width and things like that. And then of course we need the pound include, we need our mouse, right? So this would be our header file in order to bring in the mouse. So now this is where we are going to define the mouse functions. So we have a constructor, we have a print, set growth rate, grow, and then some getters and setters. So I will delete that. And then we're going to come in here and we're going to add definitions for each one of these. All right, so I added a comment to the including the mouse header on line 5, and then we're going to come into our constructor. Well, what we need to know is that we're including the header file for mouse, and I am going to have to indicate that this particular function is a definition from the mouse class. So I'm going to use the name of the class with the two colons, and inside of here we are going to use an initializer list to initialize the values. So we'll use the colon here, and the initializer list, we said that a mouse is going to be 0 age or 0 days old at birth. A mouse's weight at birth will be 1. We'll make him 1 gram because a mouse can't be 0 grams. And then the last one is the growth rate. So we're going to initialize the growth rate to 1.5. And then we have the body of the function itself. And inside of here in the body, I am just going to add something like, I might say cout, I am being constructed. Just so we can see that it's actually being constructed, I'll force a new line there. But if you'll notice, the one thing that I didn't say was using namespace std. So using the standard namespace, we are going to write our program without the standard namespace, the std namespace, because there is a lot of flexibility in not using the namespace. It takes a little bit of extra effort, but we're going to be talking about the standard templates in the not too distant future. So we have never written a program without using namespace. So if you don't use namespace, we have to tell specifically what library cout is coming from, and it's coming from the std library. That's why we have been using it in the past. All right, so I wrote a little bit of pseudocode in my print mouse function on line 16. The first thing that I need to do before we begin is to make sure that we acknowledge the fact that print mouse is coming from the mouse header. All right, so what I would like to do is display this right here. I'm going to build a print statement that will display each one of these 3 values on different lines. The age is implied in days, the weight is implied in grams, and the growth rate is implied in a percentage. So I'm going to build a print statement that allows us to display this. So just a simple, I'm using simple couts in order to build that print statement. Remember, we're not using the std namespace, so we're going to have to put that in front of not only cout, I'll copy that and I'll paste it here in front of each of the couts, but we're going to see that endline also comes from the std library, so I'm going to need to put standard or std colon in front of each one of those. Now, because weight is a floating point number and growth rate is a floating point number, I might want to force them to print fixed, and I might also want to set the precision. So I'm going to come out here and we'll do cout, and then I will do a standard looks like I have that on my clipboard now, so it's going to be a fixed. In the weight, we're actually going to use set precision. That's why I included IO manipulation. So we'll use set precision. Set precision, and I think that's probably a lowercase p. Set precision. And for the weight, we're going to set the precision on the weight to 5, because remember, it's grams. So it's a very small number. But on the growth rate, so right before I type in the growth rate, we are going to type in, and since I have that still on my clipboard, we'll set precision. For the growth rate, I really only need it to be 3. So we're going to set the precision on the weight, because it's a very tiny weight, to 5, and we'll set the precision on its growth rate to 3. So we have a couple of more of these to do. We're going to set the growth rate. I need to make sure that I indicate that it's from the mouse. I'm going to remove that semicolon. And all I know to do with the growth rate is I am going to allow them to set whatever growth rate it is that they want to use. So it can be positive, it can be negative, depends upon the type of experiment. I'm sure the growth rate would be larger for eat ice cream every day than the growth rate for the run on a treadmill or swim for 10 minutes every day. So we're going to allow them to put in any growth rate that we want. And so this just says that the growth rate is going to equal whatever value they pass to me. That's all I really need it to do, set the growth rate. So to grow the mouse, we're going to increase the mouse's age by 1 day, or his age by 1 day, and his weight by % growth rate. So I'm going to remove that semicolon, and then inside of here, we are going to just increment age by 1 day, but the growth rate, the weight, the way that we're going to increase the weight is that we need to multiply it by the growth rate. So in order to get rid of those, we need to include the fact that it's mouse. Now it knows that the age and weight are the class variables. So in order to grow the weight, there's 2 things that I need to do. First, we're going to do weight multiplied by the growth rate. Growth rate. And then we're also going to multiply that by 0.01, because I want it to be at a percentage. In order to turn a number like, if the growth rate is 2, I need it to be 2%, not 2 as in 200. So I'm going to multiply that by 0.01, and then we should have a growth rate. The last ones are our getters and our setters. So before each one, we will add mouse. I'll put that on my clipboard, and then I'll copy it down to each one of the 3 getters. And then we'll come here and we will remove the semicolon, and we'll put in the braces, and inside of the braces, all we need to do is return age. I'm going to remove that semicolon, and inside of the braces, we're just going to return weight. And then I'll remove that semicolon, and inside of the braces, we will return growth rate. So now we should have all of the functions defined that we have declared in our header file, and it's time to turn to our main file so that we can start using this.